second power play unit out. Headmans for Smith-Pelly, ahead to Cogliano, he scores!
They were one of the hottest teams in the NHL since the start of the new year, but fell short of making the playoffs. So are big changes in store for the Anaheim Ducks. Hello everyone, I'm Tanya Lyon alongside Jeff Miller. We'll also have Ducks beat writer Eric Stevens telling us which free agents he believes will be back and which they'll let walk away later in the segment. So Jeff, to start off with, the Ducks were one of the hottest teams since January, obviously fell short, but there's been a lot of speculation that there could be some big changes. Have you heard anything? Do you think a big roster shakeup is in order?
I don't think fans should anticipate a lot of major changes, only because the core of this team is still quite young. I mean, relatively speaking, other than a couple of the older guys who everyone knows, Solani, Koivu, Blake, guys like that. The core, the main group, is still relatively a young group, and so I don't think fans should anticipate major changes. There still could be maybe a big deal, Bobby Ryan, somebody like that getting traded, or Ryan Getzlaf, but I really don't. My gut feeling is I don't anticipate there'll be real sweeping roster changes, mostly because I think the Ducks believe, maybe rightly, it's maybe overestimating a little bit, but I think they believe they're a lot closer than the standings would indicate.
I was going to mention that too. I mean, being one of the hottest teams in the year since January, I mean, something had to be going right. You mentioned Ryan Getzlaf and Bobby Ryan. They were among the names that were lobbied about during the trade rumors earlier in the season. Do you think one of those guys could get traded, a guy maybe who had been seen before as being a core player?
I think it's a possibility, sure. But I think there's no question that what these guys did in the second half of the season certainly changed a lot of attitudes, changed a lot of opinions. I don't think there's any question about that. I think there was probably a point where Bruce Boudreau kind of wondered, what have I gotten myself into, the way as poorly as they're playing. I think he sees now, he's seen what this team can do, as we've all seen. Not only the second half of this year, second half of last year, we saw how well they can play. And same group of guys, and you saw it again this second half. So I think that turnaround is probably tempered what could have been a very tumultuous off season. And I think, like I said, rightly and wrongly, I don't think the Ducks are as bad as the season's going to look like on a whole. When we're all said and done, you look back on this, you just look at the numbers. I don't think they're that bad of a team. But the one thing I would say is, I would love to see this team get deeper and get some more leadership in that dressing room. I think that's where they really need that. I mean, the problem is that you don't have Scott Niedermayer's walking around, everywhere, and it's not easy to find guys like that. But they need that kind of, I think that's what they are missing, is that leadership within the dressing room.
All right, great. So we'll check in with Eric Stevens now to get your free agent report.
Well, it's, I think it's very clear cut. Certainly they want Teemu Selanne to return, no doubt what he's done this season, even as he pushes 42 years of age. I think they like what Saku Koivu brings to the table. And I think they would like him back, but perhaps at a reduced price or maybe a reduced role. But they like his intangibles. I think guys like Jason Blake, Nicholas Hagman, wingers, those are probably two that probably won't be brought back, along with backup goalie Dan Ellis, whose season was sort of injury plagued to no fault of his own. But they're certainly going to be looking for a backup in the off season. I know they have an eye, a real strong eye on a Swedish goaltender, Victor Fost, who played very well in the World Championships. Guys like Rod Pelley, who I think fit in nicely as a good defensive-minded center, but also the type where you could also find on the open market or perhaps upgrade from. George Parros. George Parros is another one whose future is very cloudy with this franchise. He's been in healthy scratch for a number of games here now, and it'll be interesting to see whether Bruce Boudreau wants to have that true heavyweight enforcer on his team, or rather have, say, have that spot open for another player to fill his desire of playing four lines in a game. So there will be a lot of decisions, a lot of unrestricted free agents that will be out there, but I think it's fairly clear cut on who they would want to bring back and who they would, just assume see walk away.